The 2023 NFL Draft is in the books. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us here on the Ravens Rundown as we will catch you up to speed on the latest undrafted free agent signings by your Baltimore Ravens. Who did the Ravens pick up? Who's got a chance to potentially make the 53-man roster? We will go over some names to watch in just a matter of moments. Before we do, folks, we are growing here on the channel as we're getting close to about 9.5K subs, but we need your help to get there. We're about 276 away. So if you like what you're seeing here on the channel, I encourage you to come back, subscribe, and join us for news and rumor segments that we do during the week. We also do our live shows during the season. We do watch parties as well. And we're going to be all over training camp, OTAs, minicamp, preseason. This is the channel for the diehard Baltimore Ravens fan. Just because the draft is over doesn't mean the work stops for us. Subscribe now for free today. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. We'll get started with today's show. Let's run through the list of UDFAs for the Ravens. All starts with Corey Mayfield Jr., corner from UTSA. Meanwhile, another corner, Jeremy Lucien, on the list as well from Vanderbilt. Safety from Ball State, Jaquan Amos. And my favorite guy from this group, we'll have more on him later, running back Keaton Mitchell from East Carolina. Another running back on the list, Owen Wright from Monmouth. SMU offensive guard Jaylon Thomas on the list. Then we find from Nebraska, tight end Travis Vokolek, as well as offensive guard from Kentucky, Tashawn Manning. A quarterback from Delaware. Where have I heard that before? Could he be another elite quarterback in Baltimore as well? Nolan Henderson is on this list. We'll talk about him later. Also got Trey Botts, defensive lineman from Colorado State Pueblo. Caeser, defensive lineman from Ohio. Meanwhile, Camron Peterson, defensive lineman from Southern A&M, also on the list. Several more names to get to. Brandon Kipper, offensive tackle from Oregon State. Tykeem Doss, offensive guard from Southern Miss. Jake Guidone, offensive guard from UConn, also on the list, as is Brian Walker, tight end from Shepherd University. Two receivers to round it out. They include Sean Ryan, wide receiver from Rutgers, and Dontay Demus Jr. He'll be staying in the state of Maryland, going from the Terps over to the Ravens, and he is the final player that was signed. So, what do you think of this class? 18 players in all by the Baltimore Ravens. Grade it for me in the comments section. A, B, C, D, or F. Let us know what you think of what the Ravens did with these UDFAs. We'll break them all down, the big ones here in just a second, but want to hear from you guys first. Grade them for me, A, B, C, D, or F, in the comment section below. Let's start with Keaton Mitchell. And Keaton Mitchell was a guy that, as we were doing 7-round mock drafts and others were mocking for the entirety of the draft, he seemed like that he was on his way to being drafted. Pro Football Focus in particular really liked Keaton Mitchell, had him as one of the upper-tier running backs in this class, but ultimately he kind of fell by the wayside and ultimately didn't get drafted. But you look at the information here, as you see on your screen, Tom Downey had him as the number 16 running back in the draft, number 181 overall player, probably a guy that should have been picked, in all honesty. Burner with great athleticism in the ability to force missed tackles. Has potential also being used as a wide receiver. So he's got multiple chances to make the 53-man roster, whether it's as a running back, a wide receiver, maybe in the return game as well. Needs to avoid the drops with obvious pass protection issues at his size. So something to think about there. And we mentioned his size, checking in at about 5'7", 7/8". So really he's 5'8". And 179 is where he comes in on this list. As you can see, let's go to that next graphic on your screen for Keaton Mitchell. 21 years old, a junior, still a young guy with a lot of room to learn here. So certainly exciting to see Keaton Mitchell there. This is my favorite signing. Glad to see him join the fold here with the Baltimore Ravens and get added. And I'll tell you what, even if he doesn't make the 53, I think it'd be certainly worth it to have him around as a practice squad guy at the very, very least, as far as I'm concerned. Nolan Henderson, we mentioned the quarterback from Delaware on this list. Joe Flacco, of course, was a quarterback from Delaware as well. And this is a guy that comes in at a 5'11", 202 to the Baltimore Ravens. And of the quarterbacks, this was the only one that the Ravens ultimately ended up picking up out of this group. Jaylon Thomas, offensive guard from SMU, checking in at a 6'3", 304 from Lubbock, Texas, a senior in this group. And we also have on the list after him another offensive guard, Tashawn Manning from Kentucky. And we got a scouting report on him that we want to show you. Spent the final year at Kentucky after 5 seasons at Auburn following a cancer battle. Recovered and went on to still play college football in the SEC. Pretty remarkable story from Tashawn Manning as far as that goes. Interesting upside with his power and length. Still needs to improve his technique and range, but nonetheless, one of the best stories that you'll see out there throughout the undrafted free agents that we've seen to this point. Another name for you, Dontay Demus Jr. from Maryland. We told you was one of the last players that the Ravens picked up there on our list earlier. Had promise in 2019, but hasn't looked the same after some serious knee injuries that he dealt with in 2021. If he can play like he did in 2019, watch out. Massive size, big dude with flashes after the catch. Not as good in contested catches as he should be, but we have him as the number 43 player, 298 overall. And think last year of undrafted free agents. Remember Shamar Bridges? He ultimately had that injury, so he didn't make the roster, but he's expected to be around and still compete for a roster spot. The Ravens have a good track record when it comes to these, like finding the Shamar Bridges types. As far as that goes, I think Dontay Demus Jr. is going to have a chance to compete here. More names to get to in a second. Before we do, got jerseys that we're selling for Zay Flowers. If you want a Zay Flowers jersey, you're in luck. You can get yours now at chatsports.com/Ravens jersey. You can be the first to have your Zay Flowers jersey to represent among the flock, and you can get yours while supplies last. These are hot, folks. You don't want to miss your opportunity to get one of these while you can with that number one, because he's number one, right? Get your jersey now. Buy yours today. chatsports.com/Ravens jersey. A few more names to get to. Here is Travis Vokolek from Nebraska. Comes from Springfield, Missouri. Bit of an older guy, though. 25 years old, 6'6", 259 for the Baltimore Ravens, bringing him in from the Huskers there. Also on the list, Brandon Kipper, offensive tackle from Oregon State. Senior from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 6'5", 318. Corey Mayfield Jr., the corner from UTSA, checks in at 5'10", 190. Remember Tariq Woolen, the Seahawks stud who was a Pro Bowler this year? He was a rookie from UTSA. So they have a good track record, that program does, when it comes to producing NFL talent. We'll see what Corey Mayfield Jr. can do. Sean Ryan, wide receiver from Rutgers, pretty decent size, 6'2" and 3/4, basically 6'3". 198 from Brooklyn, New York, a senior this past season. And then there's Jeremy Lucien at corner, and he checks in at 6 foot and 199, a senior from Moore Township, Pennsylvania. Got a couple more guys I want to talk about here in a second. Before we do, what's your one-word reaction to the Ravens draft and what they did with their selections? I thought it was a pretty solid draft. Tell me what your one-word reaction is to what the Ravens did in the 2023 draft. And for more of a breakdown of the draft, our draft grades video is on the channel, as well as our other draft coverage from this weekend. Go check it out, and you can see the grade I give. I was pretty optimistic about what the Ravens did in this draft. Tell me what you think of what the Ravens did. Go check it out, and go leave a comment on our grades video, as well as our other draft coverage, youtube.com/Ravens TV for more information there. Two more names, Owen Wright, a little bit of a smaller guy, the running back from Monmouth, and he has ties to the Maryland area, as you can see, 5'9", 214. And then at safety from Ball State, Jaquan Amos, senior from Philadelphia. He's about 6 foot 196. So there is the rundown of UDFAs for your Baltimore Ravens. Who was your favorite that we talked about today? My favorite's Keaton Mitchell. I'm rooting for the guy. Would love to see him stick around. Tell me who your favorite is of the UDFAs that we talked about on today's show. Hit me up on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live. Got more Ravens coverage there, and I'll see you next time here on the channel. Thanks for joining us.